You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
I'm Katrina, and I love anime.
I'm Steven, and I'm aware of anime.
But what if that affection could rub off?
Perhaps that excitement in her eyes got me curious.
I could offer up some solid anime.
I could give them a watch, just to see what all the fuss is about.
And maybe, just maybe,
I could learn to love anime too.
Welcome to Inspired by a Weeaboo. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Inspired by a Weeaboo. I'm your host Katrina, and with me is my husband Steven.
Hello.
We just finished episode 46 of Fullmetal Alchemist. Steven, what did you think?
I'm tired of this shit.
And he doesn't mean that as in he's tired of the show.
No, it's just like, my God, every time there's something new that just gets added to just make it even worse as it continues to go down this hole.
Yeah.
So the episode starts with Al and Shou Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
Tucker tells Al point blank he knows that Scar pulled off creating a philosopher's stone.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he figured it out by observing Colonel Archer's injuries and learning of the Elric brothers deserting the military. He's kind of put two and two together. And he also knew about Bradley and that there were other homunculi and that there had to be another master and all this stuff, all while he was down in the Laboratory 5. Now, Tucker then kind of offers Al, I don't really feel like it was a good offer of any kind.
No.
It was kind of like he'll help him learn how to use the Philosopher's Stone if he uses said stone to resurrect Nina, his daughter that he killed. Created and turned into that whole thing. Anyway, so Al's now between a rock and a hard place because what do? He wants to learn how to use it, but then he's going to have to help him with his monstrosities, and again, still doesn't know what using it will do. And I've often wondered that too, especially when they have. Now, I understand that the fake ones, I guess they don't operate in the same capacity. I know that they amplify, but do they not? They're not a one-time use. I mean, we've seen people use them time and again.
They have their limits. That's the thing is the Philosopher's Stone, whether it's the real one or one of the uncompleted, because they're not really technically considered fake stones. They're just uncompleted stones. So they were made with, very few sacrifices and stuff like that, where the one that Ed has is made from a shit ton of sacrifices, because it not only has all of the people that souls were trapped in it from Ishbal, but it also has the 900 plus soldiers that were in Lior when Scar did everything. Not to mention all of the souls that were in the other fragments of the shards that Scar absorbed into his arm. So it's got at least, I would say, 1,000, if not more, souls within that Philosopher's Stone. But at the end of the day, it still has a limit. Okay. So the more you use it, the, more big things you use it for, like resurrecting Nina, are going to take a toll on it, because it's not some infinite power. Because if it was some infinite power, then both Hohenheim and Dante wouldn't need to keep creating another stone.
Gotcha. Yeah,
which Hohenheim has not. He's pretty sure only ever created the one stone. But Dante, she's, had to create more than one because of her body and everything else.
Right. So Ed and Izumi are at Dante's house kind of discussing things. Izumi points out there was a some mystery about her former teacher and
Mm-hmm.
kind of where she would seclude herself in the forest and keep a lot of her alchemy knowledge to herself, hiding something, despite knowing she knows a lot. So Izumi remembers that this is what caused her to have a falling out with Dante in the first place. And then Izumi whips out a letter and shows Ed that was addressed to Dante from Hohenheim.
Yep.
And it was a love letter.
Yeah.
Which it was, Ed's like, what? Just freaking out. I was like, I can't believe it. And then Izumi points out, if you take a look at the date, it's at least 400 years old. So if that's the case, then there's a lot more to this than we realize. So Ed starts kind of doing a little hypothesis, and he's always on top of it when he hypothesizes.
Yeah, he's a really smart kid.
Yeah. So he's just like, so she would probably have to be the one that's a homunculus controlling the homunculi. There we go. So tries to decide what he's going to do. He walks off, leaving them, gonna go handle this on his own, really having nothing to show for it other than that letter.
Yeah.
But back at, I guess, the military place, compound, what have you, Fuhrer Bradley is pretty much sending off Mustang and Armstrong to their campaign off into the country of Drachma.
Yes.
To retrieve the boys who they believe are up there. And Fuhrer mentions to Archer, or that Archer will actually be up there, or will protect command. I'm sorry. He's going to be protecting Central Command while they're away.
Yes.
Because Armstrong was like, what's going to happen here? Who's going to be under command or what have you? Because he, like we said, he got the lieutenant colonel promotion, and then Mustang got the brigadier general promotion. And when they mentioned that Archer is going to be taking care of things there, Armstrong kind of was like, what? He's alive? And yeah, that was my first thought too. He's alive? And obviously I had that same reaction earlier, but still it's just like, I can't believe the man is still alive. And then they show him who he looks like he's off in a deep hole somewhere. And
he's I don't really know if he's underground or not, but definitely in like some deep ass hole, and completely wrapped from head to toe. Looks like he's missing appendages and literally half of his freaking skull.
Yeah, he looks like he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, but he kind of deserves it, so
Yeah. So at one hand, you look at him, it's like, my God, that's terrible. But at the same time, it's like, but is it?
Yeah.
For you? Fuck you.
Like, you kind of deserve it.
So now we know about him.
Yeah.
Bradley.
Yes.
Goes down into the bottom.
He goes into the catacombs under the city. Yes.
Under the city. Where Dante informs him that Mustang and all of the other soldiers who have learned too much about the Philosopher's Stone and Hughes' death will be killed on the battlefield by Envy.
And then we get the big drop of Envy coming in and
being absolutely 100% pissed that Dante has sent Hohenheim to the other side of the gate, denying Envy revenge
on
Hohenheim.
What did they say Hohenheim was to Envy?
Sounded like father.
Yes.
And I just heard it and I was like, well, they kind of glossed it over. So I'm just going to have to wait to see how this works.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, Dante offers Envy a consolation prize, which is, the Philosopher's Stone is still out there and could be taken. So just if you can go get it.
And that Hohenheim's beloved sons, the Elric brothers, are the ones that have gotten it.
Yeah, so if you want to go get it, you can.
Yeah. Basically, I know you can't take your revenge out on Hohenheim, but hey, here's his 2 kids that, you can go McMurder and take the Philosopher's Stone.
So Lust, Wrath, and Sloth arrive in the room where the Elrics were staying.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the note that Al left for Ed, Sloth decides to head to Tucker's lab, trying to figure out, or to kind of deal with him and maybe capture Al along the way. Now, at this point, Tucker starts to work on his process like he was doing in Laboratory 5. And at this point, Lust and Wrath intercept Ed upon his return to Al's room. Now, Ed reveals to Lust that he knows her weakness and her tricks to attacking. So he has the locket that he had stored in a desk drawer where she kind of has him pinned at the moment.
Yeah.
And kind of gets her to attack it, which then in turn, her blade or whatever kind of goes into the locket and then just like paralyzes her.
Yeah.
And so he kind of has her on the ropes. And if she was alone, he'd have had her dead to rights. But then, wouldn't you know it, Wrath shows up.
Yeah.
He's like leaping
That
out
little
of the,
shit.
yeah, he's like a little, and tries to start, ripping apart Ed to get his other arm and leg.
Yeah.
Even rips off his automel arm. Yet again, he's lost his fucking arm.
The hand. He didn't lose the whole arm.
Well,
he just, Wrath ripped off Edward's automail hand and basically fused it to his shoulder and across his chest.
So he pretty much says, as they're kind of sitting there wrestling, he's like, what are you going to do? Just take the rest of my limbs? Doesn't matter. You're not going to be human. You're just going to be some Frankensteinish monster.
Yeah.
And that just pisses Wrath off even more. But it was enough to kind of distract him so he kind of get the upper hand or at least try. And Wrath takes the locket off of Lust. So she kind of comes out of her little trance. And Ed had kind of made a little shield. But then Lust kind of destroys that shield, which kind of forces him to run. But they pursue, as, they happen to do.
Yeah.
Now, Wrath is kind of egging on Lust, I guess, in a way. Like, she just seems like she's being very hesitant to proceed any further. And Wrath is just like, we've got to go.
Yeah.
And Ed asks her if she is really that desperate to become human. And she tells him that everything that Tucker's doing right now is probably going to end badly because he's going to teach Al how to use the Philosopher's Stone, as they don't know, right? None of them know about him being the stone.
Other than Lust.
Because
she was there when...
That's right.
Yeah, when Scar sacrificed his arm to make Alphonse the Philosopher's Stone, and she was also there when Alphonse woke up and everything. Or, not when he woke up, but she couldn't get close to him because he had the locket and everything.
Right.
And yeah, I think she did see him when they were leaving and everything after Ed had found him. Because Edward makes the comment of, why didn't she come closer? And Al pulls out the locket and is like, this.
So she's kind of letting him know, this is probably what's going to happen. And that if, he does learn how to use the stone, then, things could be bad. But if he could learn how to use the stone, if, he would actually help her become human, then maybe she would kind of be a friend, at least for the time being. And Ed kind of seems reluctant about it, but he's like, I don't know. But Lust then kind of makes the argument, if you turn us all into humans, we won't be your enemies anymore, which is not a bad thought.
No.
And so even as that argument's being made, which is a fine argument.
Yeah.
Wrath has no chill.
No, he doesn't.
So Wrath then proceeds to kind of go off on Lust.
Yeah.
And ask why she seems to be trying to go against what Dante and everybody is trying to do. And he just feels like she's being disloyal. And she kind of gets tired of hearing it. And kind of does a little... So he says they're not immortal, but did she kill him?
No, he's not dead.
I was curious about that because she attacked him and pretty much made it very clear she does not believe in Dante and whatever her purpose is anymore.
Well, no, because, she literally gets told that they're nothing more than pawns to get Dante what Dante wants. And their reward for, being her loyal service dogs is the chance of becoming human, because Dante doesn't even say, yes, I will make you human point blank. She says, you get me the Philosopher's Stone and we'll see.
Yeah.
It depends on how you do. So I think at this point, Lust realizes that Dante has only ever been out for herself. She doesn't give a fuck about the homunculi. They're not her family. She does not care about them. And she only, took them in and helped mold them and create them to be who they were so they could do her dirty work. Because as you have probably noticed, Dante does not do any shit to get her hands dirty.
No, absolutely not.
And as we know, homunculi can die because obviously greed died.
So what she does is she kind of practically shoves one of her little spikes into his head. And that's why I was like, well, did that kill him? But then Ed kind of said moments later, is like, you guys are immortal. What do you want to be human for? And Lust was kind of like, you just almost kind of like you don't understand. So, well,
she's like she said, that's a very cruel thing to say, because how can you say, well, why would you want to be human? You're immortal. You're powerful. You have abilities that humans don't have. But like she points out, so's your brother.
Yeah.
He's basically immortal. He's powerful. And yet you're doing everything in your power to turn him back into a human. So you're just pretty much being a fucking hypocrite at that point.
Which is what he's
Why
good
is
at.
it okay for... And that's the other thing, because none of the homunculi, and granted, you can say, yes, nobody asked to be born, but at the end of the day, none of the homunculi would exist if it wasn't for humans being greedy and selfish. And why, like, yes, the people that they are created from have died, but they didn't ask to be brought back. They didn't ask for you to, do something that's considered quote unquote blasphemous to bring them back. And then when you brought them back, they're back as something that's not human. That's just, they can't even survive without having to eat the philosopher's stones and stuff like that. So for Ed to look at it that way of, you don't deserve to be human and why the hell would you want to? Well, you don't deserve to get your limbs back. Your brother deserves to get his body back because he didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. And yes, you were both children and you did something stupid. But at the end of the day, these were the consequences of your actions by doing something that you were told time and time and time and time again, every single red flag, to not do it because bad things would happen.
Right.
But now you want to get your body back and you want to get your brother's body back, but you don't want to turn the homunculi into humans when that's all they have ever wanted, was to be human and to experience human things like love and friendship and family. But you want that for yourself and your brother? Like, that's not fair.
No.
And it's not right. And I think it showed And it did hit Ed. You saw it in his eyes when she kind of said it, where it kind of took him aback because he never thought of it that way. And it's a very tragic thing because, again, the homunculi wouldn't have existed if it weren't for human stupidity.
Yeah. People like him.
Exactly. People exactly like him. People exactly like his master. And his father. None of them are blameless.
Even as he has that realization, he does kind of question her about her master, and she does flip it on him and be like, well, you know what? You helped me, and maybe I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And he just kind of leaves it at that. Now, meanwhile, and I apparently missed what happened to Al. What happened? Did I miss what happened to Al? Between, like, how did he get knocked out, or...
Well, it didn't technically show what happened to him other than when he stepped on the transmutation circle, it activated the philosopher stone. He kind of floated above the pool with Nina in it, and then you kind of hear him scream, and that's pretty much where it cuts it. And then the next time we see him is him waking up.
I think that was when I stepped out of the room ever so briefly.
Yeah.
I was watching the episode. I just stepped out of the room just for a brief second, and that must have been exactly when it happened. So that's what happened. So he was kind of coming to as Tucker was doing his weird ass experiment. And
well, he was coming to while Tucker was so happy that his daughter Nina was back.
Yeah, because he was again attempting to do that. And at that point, as he's coming to, Sloth appears and says that she's here to take Al to Dante. And also says that, you know, maybe she might want to get that stone to her master before it starts to deteriorate.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? And then he looks down and there's a piece of him missing, but a nice purple glow right in this spot. So... that raised a big question, and it seems that Tucker didn't quite have what he needed to create his daughter again. So
he basically created a body. Like, he did perform a perfect human transmutation because he created a human body through alchemy. However, what good is a body without a soul?
Yep.
So, because there is no way to get Nina's soul back, Nina's soul is gone. She is dead. Gone. I mean, all he's ever going to have is just a lifeless husk.
And it's sad. It's sick, too. But
It is. It's very sad and it's very sick. And I always thought it was a very tragic storyline because I don't want to feel sorry for Tucker because he is a piece of shit. Like, you should have never killed your daughter in the first place. But I guess I can also understand in the sense of he felt like everything was so hopeless that if he did not create another speaking chimera, then, you know, the likelihood of him and his daughter dying went up. So in a fit of madness, he did that. But then after, I honestly believe that he regretted it because why the hell else would he have spent all this time trying to bring Nina back?
But it's never going to be the same.
No,
So
and it's never going to be the
time.
same, and that is his punishment. You killed your daughter, and you can do everything in your power to try and bring her back, but at the end of the day, all you're going to have is a lifeless doll.
So that's where they left us, and
Yeah.
that's where I was... The stone deteriorating, that was the thing that kind of caught me off guard because it was like, my God, what else? What else can they do?
Not only deteriorating, but only has been technically used once.
Yes.
And it's already, you know.
Wasting away.
Yeah.
So now we know the consequences of using Al as a stone, which... is why they should really try to figure out a way to get him out of the stone, if possible. But I don't know how you would do that. I literally cannot think of a way that you would pull that off. Because he is the stone.
Yeah.
So...
just the same way he is the armor.
right.
Like, it's not so... And for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's not like he's some big suit of armor with some giant, massive stone sitting inside him. When they show the Philosopher's Stone inside Al, it's literally just like his insides are glowing. So instead of just seeing, you know, the back of his armor, you just see it glowing. And even when they showed, we talked about it in one of the last couple episodes, when Al fell into the water, and Ed and them were freaking out because of his blood seal. When Al takes off his head, the seal is glowing. Like the stone is in every molecule of Al. So he is literally the Philosopher's Stone. It's not just the Philosopher's Stone is inside of him. The Philosopher's Stone is part of him. No, they are one and the same. They have been joined at like a molecular level.
Yeah.
So if he uses it up, I mean, it literally shows that Ed's worries were justly sound. Because if they use it up, then what happens to Al's soul that is attached to that armor, which is attached to the Philosopher's Stone?
Exactly. So we've got more episodes to watch. We're so close.
Yes, we are so close. We are literally in the home stretch, and then we will have the movie, which will be a big, long discussion after the movie. So I guess we should probably get back to it.
I want to.
All right. Well, as we have said before, you should all know where to find us. And if you don't, you can always go down into the, you know, description down below and all that and find links and everything. So we're going to hop back to our anime binge fest, and we will see you weebs later.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.